Hey there, it's Lucas Cadden, and I was talking with an old friend the other day, and we were discussing, just different things in life and catching up and things like that. We started to talk about, things that we have learned through through therapy, and talking to therapists and what kind are most helpful or seem to click and that sort of thing. And as we're talking along this line around like the discussion of therapy in general, and it like this one particular topic came up, and it was something that I had realized, and that was that always taking the short end of the stick doesn't earn you any favor. And I was applying that towards me in that I found myself getting into situations where I would think that if I did something, that I could somehow expect something in return. And he goes, yeah. My therapist told me there's a name for that. They call it covert contracts. And I went, huh, interesting. So I dug into that some more and looked it up. And sure enough, basically what it is it's people doing things expecting some kind of return, like doing like nice things for other people or whatever, and expecting something in return, but not explicitly saying that, and then being upset after not receiving whatever the unspoken expected thing was, and somehow taking that out on other people. And that is something that I've been guilty of for a long time. I realized, like a really long time, to where I would think, whether it's business situations or relationships or friendships or things with kids or like whatever, that if I expected a particular result for doing something for someone else and then didn't get it, how I would somehow find them at fault for that. And that's not the case. I should have been more explicit in what my expectations were. And so this is something I'm working on trying to go forward, but there's lots of different things. Like I did, there's a video, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago or so, or something like that. And I think I'll put it at the end of this, but it was expectations are the root of disappointment. And that was something that I continued to kind of come up against as well back then, and still believe so now, is that, it's one thing to want a particular outcome, or it's one thing to have goals or that kind of thing. But when we set ourselves up by expecting only a certain one and don't get that for whatever reason, then we get disappointed. So this takes that into sort of like a secretive level, hence the covert contracts, is that we have these secret expectations and are somehow hoping that someone will magically read our minds, let's say, or like if I got a neighbor and every day that every time it's garbage day and I bring their garbage can back up to their driveway, and then one week I'm out of town and I come back expecting that they're going to bring my garbage can back up the driveway and they don't, and I somehow get upset about that. That's like ridiculous. Like, why would I expect them to do that? Someone might go, oh, well, because you always do that for them. But if I didn't ask for it, then I can't be upset for them not doing it. So it has come to like understanding and realizing that I personally need to be more explicit and ask for things that I want. And that if we don't get something we want and don't ask for it, then don't be surprised if we don't get it, whatever that is. It might be whatever. It might be, like a discount at a hotel, for example. You expect that they're automatically going to give you the lowest rate. This is a really simple example, but they don't, because they don't give certain discounts unless you ask for them. So there are so many different ways that this can play out, and that happens all the time between people, interpersonal relations. Like if I make my kids their favorite dinner, that somehow they're going to go to bed without a hassle later. It's not necessarily the case. That's part of living. So if we don't have more specific or explicit language in the contracts that we feel that we're entering into with people, whether it be just a simple favor or something more, then we can't hold them accountable for not delivering on our expectations. And so I encourage you to think back at some times where this might have been the case for you, whether it's something that you've done or something that someone else has done, or, and then blame you for it. Because when you can then talk about this, and Dr. Robert Glover talks about this in some interviews and a book that he wrote and stuff. If you then bring it up and you have these expectations and they're known and still not met, then you might have something to discuss or potentially be upset about or whatever. But if you don't, then you can't hold that against someone else. And again, this is something that I've failed at continuously now for 43 years, and I'm trying to change. But it's interesting. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at that and see where you can do a better job of managing your expectations, to be able to discuss what you expect from other people and in different situations at work and in relationships, etc. And not always just assume that they're reading your mind, and not assume that because you do something for them that they're going to do something for you in return. It's just, sometimes people, it's not that they're doing it intentionally, they're doing their own thing, and so you take the moment to explain what it is that you want or what it is that you expect in return. And we'll do all of ourselves a huge favor in that. I hope you find that helpful. It's certainly been an eye-opener for me, and I look forward to digging into some more stuff, both in and out of therapy. Thanks. Take care.